Hello and welcome to Crowforest Reviews. So, as I'm sure you've gathered by this point, I have in fact decided to try my hand at this whole review thing. So, with that in mind, I've decided to look at toy and game related media. Let's start with Transformers. So we open with the shot of a car driving through the desert. This is of course one of the Transformers, named, well, it doesn't really matter, he's dead in the next scene. Oh, by the way, spoilers. Before he's killed, however, he is talking to one of his companions, RC, over the radio, and he informs her that he has found a lot of Energon. But the Decepticons have already found the Energon, so they surround him and take him out, thus setting up conflict for the opening miniseries of Season 1. RC calls for backup, but by the time the few remaining Transformers arrive on the scene, Cliffjumper's life signal has gone offline. Okay, his name is Cliffjumper. So now we come to the obligatory introduction of human characters. This is the part that I've really been dreading, since this is always one of the most painful parts of any Hasbro production. But it was actually handled surprisingly well in this one. So we cut to some kid working in the drive-thru of a fast food place, setting up that our lead human is just a regular guy. When the kid, who's named Jack, gets off work, he goes outside the building where he sees RC in motorcycle form. He sits down on her seat cushion. RC hopes in vain that Jack will wrap up his little fantasy in a hurry so that she can take care of the two Decepticons that have been tailing her, but no such luck. Instead, she is forced to drive off with him still clinging to her. This is a much more satisfying way of getting the human characters involved than the traditional method of we need human backup.
Hey, where are we going? To help my friends. They need you. Me? What can I do? You're strong.
Seriously, what can humans even do? Also, just a side note, but I love the way they keep using scrap as their curse word.
Scrap. 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 Scrap.
Scrap. So anyway, generic chase scene, cars trying to force each other off the road, all the stuff you would expect. And all of this, of course, leads to our introduction of our second human character, a kid named Raph, who just happens to be caught up in the middle of all of this. But as cliched as this is, I'm willing to forgive it just for that awesome transition. Also, it gives us this line.
What are they?
Talking cars that turn into robots. Or the other way around.
And now, finally, we come to my favorites of the three human character introductions.
You are one of the few, one of the only who have ever seen us.
Dude, what are you waiting for? Go with!
Scrap.
It's funny because lamp shading.
So after we meet Miko, who I'm pretty sure is supposed to be a younger version of that girl from Big Hero 6, we get some exposition about the Civil War on Cybertron.
Which they actually managed to make pretty dramatic. I think it really helps that they waited until this point to do it, after having already gotten to know the characters. In the original, this was the very first thing we see, and as a result, we couldn't really relate to anyone. Or at least I couldn't. Your mileage may vary. Episode 2 introduces us to our main plot MacGuffin, that being a legendary substance known as Dark Energon, as it was dubbed by its founder, Unicron the Destroyer. And yes, that is an awesome name. So back with our protagonists, the Autobots are trying to decide what to do with the humans when suddenly an alarm goes off. What type of an alarm is it? Why, a human extra introduction alarm, of course. But before you can even think, oh man, I thought we were done with that, it gets suddenly awesome.
It's Agent Fowler.
I thought we were the only humans who knew about you guys.
Special Agent Fowler is our designated liaison to the outside world.
Holy crap, that makes so much sense. How is this the first time this has happened? This answers all, or at least 75% of the plot holes in the entire series. Through a series of plot points that I'm not going to discuss here, Optimus Prime has to go on a mission, leaving Bulkhead to babysit the three kids. Naturally, we follow the babysitting instead of the actual mission, because that's where the real drama is. Though, to be fair, it does give us one of the most awesome over-the-top lines of all time.
Well, maybe you can explain that to my superiors at the Pentagon.
Don't use that phone, it's out of order.
I was going to talk about the climax, but I've decided I'm not going to, just because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it. I'll just say that it is a satisfying conclusion to the miniseries. The only real complaint I have about the series as a whole, aside from just some of the awkward dialogue that's par for the course for this type of show, is the animation. It's just a personal preference, but I don't particularly care for the art style. For the most part, it looks like a template layer of a Pixar production, which isn't bad, it's just not great. But the animation isn't really the most important thing, and the other elements all came through quite nicely. The story was solid, characters are solid, and the voice acting was mostly solid. Even the animation really did work at a few points. I liked the new design of Energon, and Cybertron looked really cool too. So on the whole, this was a really good show, and I would definitely recommend it.